different than
How is that all
you.
of a sudden?
Oh, there he goes. There it goes. I got it.
All right.
If you could hear, that would be special.
Yeah. Oh boy.
That's what would be unique.
Yes.
Eric.
Yep.
Yeah.
So in the last segment,
Yeah.
I do my AOC moment of Zen. There's actually a bumper for that, just so you know.
Yeah, I'm limited by what I've got with me
Oh,
right
you don't
now.
have that? You don't have
No.
it?
I just grab music and I grab as much as I
Okay.
could.
Okay.
Dave, I can try and do your bumper.
Oh,
Yeah.
that.
Hey Eric, can you dial in on a phone so I can use your audio on the phone? Because you keep breaking up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you sounded like a robot just then.
Well, he
Oh,
always sounds
boy.
like a robot.
That's awesome. You know what? I'm just gonna get on my hotspot. That should take care of it.
Eric on a hotspot. I like that.
Ah.
All right,
Internet sucks.
you're streaming to YouTube, so
Thank you. I
You
won't
can-
say anything derogatory then.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear me? Okay. Fine.
All right, do I have you guys now?
yep.
Okay, I'm on my hotspot, so we should be good with the.
So far, so
So
good.
just so YouTube listeners know, my internet really stinks here, and out here at my house. So anyway, are we ready to go,
I am. If you, yeah.
Dave?
Yeah, Gretchen, you got all the material, right?
Yep.
Good. Should carry the show. I can do that. Yeah, I'm good.
And again, that's different from usual how.
Oh, I'm trying not to get bogged down in needless details. Got a countdown clock. This is super.
All right, I'm gonna try and wing an open here.
All right, hold on. Let me. I gotta adjust levels real quick. Where does this
Okay.
go? Why can't I find this? Oh, because it's probably all the way over here. That's why. All right, go ahead.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Good.
Cool.
All right. Gretchen, you check your level. You good?
Check, check, check. Mic check, mic check.
Yep. Eric.
All right. Yep. Check, check, check.
All right. Cool.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. All right. We ready whenever?
Whenever you're ready.
All right. Welcome to On Target Radio. This week, our hosts, David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz, will be talking about such issues as animal shelters and Biden, transgender athletes, and what about reopening the country? Later, your moment of AOC Zen, take out the trash. You won't be able to call in this week because we're recording the show live from home, but feel free to go on YouTube, watch our show, and participate by leaving a comment.
Gretchen, he's actually getting pretty good at that.
Yeah, he is.
He just kind of makes it up as he goes. Yeah, he just makes it up as he goes. It's amazing.
Yeah, if I could use different words, it would be even better, but I'm trying to be a little bit, PC here.
Well, we're still in the pandemic and it's still rolling full steam. One of the things that we definitely want to talk about is there's like no Rosetta Stone to this stuff. None at all. I mean, it's unbelievable. Gun sales rocketed in March. I mean, just literally have gone through the roof. And you could have knocked me over with a feather when our governor, the governor of the state of Illinois, who is certainly not a pro-gun guy, exempted gun stores and ammunition sales and said that they're essential. To this day, I still can't figure that one out. Can you?
It was pretty surprising. That's certainly not what I'd expect JB Pritzker to do. So yeah, I think that this article sort of clarifies it maybe a little bit, is that actually came from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security in their guidelines, their list of essential businesses. They included employees of firearms, ammunition manufacturers, firearms distributors and retailers, and shooting ranges as essential critical infrastructure workers.
I think
So-
that actually, Well, I think that actually came out after he came out with his.
Well, I'm not 100% sure. This article is dated April 2nd. So I'm not exactly, it says over the weekend. So it was the end of March that the Department of
Yeah.
Homeland Security issued this. What I have been getting throughout this whole crisis situation is I think that the information is trickling down from higher levels of government to lower levels of government before they're actually allowed to make announcements about it. So it seemed, so probably Pritzker knew what was going to be in these guidelines before they were actually officially issued. And we're like at the county level, we're getting things, you know, I think the leaders of the county are finding out from the state ahead of time, ahead of announcements of what those announcements are going to be. And there, so you kind of pick up on like hints of like, oh, well, we think they're going to do this. Well, they know, they've been told, but they're not allowed to say.
And Eric, we're still locked up, aren't we, at our club?
Yeah, I heard some kind of rumblings about, you know, what we can do and how it, you know, all plays in. And basically, I know Trump said that, you know, gun ranges are exempt, gun stores are exempt, but then you have, you know, your local government, which includes, you know, Pritzker and the Attorney General and stuff like that, where, you know, they've kind of, you know, taken a little bit of a step further. So gun ranges weren't specifically exempt. And I know other clubs are also down. I know some might have opened, but, you know, again, it's all kind of rolling the dice and, you know, what do you want to expose yourself to liability wise?
The ISRA range is open. They have some limitations so that you don't have large groups gathered together. But here's the interesting thing. Homeland Security specifically does say shooting ranges. And this is my thought. When we first decided that we were going to open the ISRA range, I thought, well, it's going against the governor. But think about this. If the governor is saying that you can sell guns and you can sell ammunition, can you imagine them taking you to court for having an open range and explaining why it's okay for somebody who's never owned a gun to buy one but get no training?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the silly part, because then there's people that are on the other side of it that are saying, well, it's my Second Amendment right. I have a right to exercise the Second Amendment, which in the past has included, you know, training. And that's kind of the, you know, the nexus for the lawsuit in Chicago, you know, with the gun ranges. Well, if you know, you have to be able to train if you can have a firearm. So, you know, again, you know, it's going to cost a lot of money to defend a lawsuit if one were to come up. Although I would think they would maybe have to send a cease and desist order before. I think it would be the polite thing to do anyway before they, you know, tried to sue you for being open. But
yeah, I would think that they would do that, and I think it would be problematic because there is no Rosetta Stone to this. The federal government says one thing, a governor says something different. Even it goes down to counties and some municipalities. Said, look at Bloomington. Look at Champaign-Urbana. Champaign, the mayor has just kind of elected herself to be in charge of everything and said you can't sell guns. I mean, you don't know what to expect. You literally don't know what to expect.
Now they're putting, you know, hours limits on liquor stores, curfews for that. Some towns are actually going as far as saying, okay, all essential employees now have to wear masks, as do all of the customers that come in the store. So now this is kind of like a you know, city by city thing. How do you know when you go into a certain city that these are the requirements? I think it's just getting a little bit blown out of proportion. And I have some friends that, you know, went to the store or whatever, and people are looking at them like, why aren't you wearing a mask, and getting all ticked off and, you know, leaving the store and, you know, all in a huff. Or, you know, then you get some employees wearing masks and no gloves, and gloves and no masks. And it's a free for all. And basically, you know, it's all voluntary at this point.
The interesting thing is, according to Illinois law, it's a felony if you carry a concealed firearm and wear a mask.
You know, that's true, but I almost wish we had like Gronkowski on, because I think I would think it would almost boil down to intent, you know, at some point.
Well, that's what the law says. The law says the mask is intended to conceal your identity, and that's not the intention of these masks. So yeah, I think that if there were a legal challenge, that's what your lawyer would say. That was not the intention.
So
someone made a comment and said, you know, just write your name on the mask. I'm not going to steal your identity.
Wear a name tag.
This is who I am. You know?
But here's the thing. So somebody could rob a bank wearing one of these masks and it would be okay. Okay, that's not going to work.
No,
other-
that's not what the law says.
Well, I'm just trying to stretch it. The other thing, that's Second Amendment. There's also a whole issue about First Amendment rights too, and church. And I fail to understand, not that I'm against churches being able to meet, but I fail to understand how you can't have more than, 10 people assemble? And yet there are places where 10 people can assemble and it's okay. How is one place better than another?
Well, I think you can have 10 people assemble if they're, social distancing, enough. At least that's how some cities and towns have seen it. But when you get, people sitting side by side in the same room, that obviously it becomes a problem. But I did see some, kind of drive up church services where everybody kind of sat in their car and worshiped. And I thought that was kind of cool. As long as, nobody had a problem with it. And I know one mayor was going to try and take down license plate numbers of people worshiping, and then a judge said, no, you can't do that. So,
Well, right. So there was a church in Greenville, Mississippi, and they actually were giving out $500 tickets to the people who were in the parking lot. They refused to leave, and so now the church is suing. So they were having a drive-up service, and on a Wednesday, and the police were issuing $500 tickets to people who refused to leave the parking lot. And the Alliance Defending Freedom is going to defend the church.
At what point does the government usurp the right of an individual to go and do those types of things? I can't find anything. Now, I don't have access to Lexis, but so I can't really check all case law. But I don't know, for instance, that the governor has the legal right to shut down, for instance, a shooting range, or to say that you can't go to church. I don't know. I don't think that exists.
well, a right is a right, and shall not be infringed is strong language. But I'm not, obviously there's the but. I know that some laws and statutes and stuff have been kind of put aside in the best interest of public health and safety, where that comes into place. So there is kind of that gray area there, and obviously without having access to law databases and stuff like that, it's hard to see any case law that might have been established on those types of things.
The American Family Association acknowledges evenly applied restrictions may be permissible. However, the government may not substantially burden the free exercise of religion unless it has a compelling reason for doing so. And even then, it must use the least burdensome approach that achieves that compelling interest. There was also a church I saw that they had all the chairs spaced out 6 feet in every direction. They had hand sanitizer, when people were coming in, and it seemed like they were following all the rules, but they still were shut down.
Well, we're going to have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to show you what Joe Biden and pets have in common, and what it is they're going to both be in the same segment together. So that's what's coming up next. And we'll be back with more on Target Radio. And you're listening to AM 560, The Answer.
That's not all. I said it's a feel-good segment. You're going to have all the feels. That's what they have in common.
That's what they have in common. Okay.
Well, they probably have more in common than you think. But they both lick people. I mean,
You could have your own pet Biden.
Oh God.
You could pet his legs in the pool.
Oh, we got a patent pending on that one. Pet Biden. It's a poodle noodle with hairs coming out of it or something.
Yeah.
Oh, so what's so pets and Biden is the next segment.
That's go ahead.
Oh, the first article here, I thought he sent you the articles, but you probably didn't have time. Probably didn't have time to read them. So the first one is that a lot of animal shelters are having like spikes in adoption to the level where some shelters have literally run out of animals. We have no animals.
Are they eating them or are they petting them?
they're adopting them and fostering too. You know, they're trying to get fosters for a lot of the animals. And then the Biden story is the criminal complaint that was finally filed against him.
You know that one, right? It was pushing some, I don't know who she was, up against the wall, something like that.
No, I didn't know that, but I'm sure I'll learn.
Gretchen, you knew that. You know the Biden complaint. Could you push somebody up against the wall? I don't know who it was.
Yes, I read the article. Yes.
Okay. I guess, are we ready? When you want to start with the shelters and then go to Biden?
Sure.
Okay. You good to go, Eric?
Yep.
Okay, you're looking into the sun. It's nice.
I'm looking at the TV above me. There's someone trying to message me. But,
Okay. I think
Ready to go?
I'm ready whenever you are. You ready?
ready?
He said yes.
You said yes.
I said yes.
Okay, here we go. And we're back with more On Target Radio. You know, I've always been a golden retriever guy. Gretchen, you know that. I have this thing about golden retrievers, and I don't have one anymore because, as I've said, I can't hold another dying dog. But I can really see how in times like this, and particularly people who might be alone, how there would be a real demand to find a pet, to have something to care for and somebody to take care for you. And the other thing, I'm guessing, is a security issue too. I'm betting there's as many German Shepherds that are getting adopted as there are golden retrievers.
Well, they're good family dogs too, but I think people who normally are very busy with their jobs, maybe long commutes and that sort of thing, now that has been eliminated for a lot of people. And, you know, people who maybe would have liked to have adopted a pet in the past, now they have the leisure of time to train that animal, you know, toilet train them, whatever. And so it's gotten, the levels of adoptions and fostering have gotten so high that shelters in New York, Michigan, Florida, and Wisconsin have actually reported running out of animals. How fantastic is that?
It's great. I don't know if people realize you don't like, it's not like a pet store where you walk in and buy one and walk out. Adoption agencies literally are. It's almost like adopting a kid. They typically want to do a home visit to see if you have a fenced-in yard. They ask you all kinds of questions. It's actually a complicated process.
Some are crazier than others. I actually was a reference for my coworker Kim, who wanted to adopt a cat from some like totally psycho shelter where she had to have like two or three references to adopt a cat. I'm like, are you kidding me? So yeah, some of them are, especially the private ones, are like way over the top with the requirements for adoption.
Yeah, you know.
And I hope they're asking this question is, you know, like me, I don't have time for a pet, and that's why I've never adopted, because I'm usually never home. Now I've been home a lot, and I could certainly do that right now, but when things come back to normal, I'm not going to have that time. So I'm hoping that these people are realizing that, you know, this time that they have is, you know, going to go away eventually. And, you know, maybe fostering is a better idea for some of these people, which I think is awesome. It's great that, you know, these shelters are running out of pets and people are doing that versus buying them. It's totally awesome.
Yeah, they were actually looking for a lot of fosters too, because they were trying to shut down their facilities so they wouldn't have to have employees or volunteers. You know, they were sort of trying to be able to close them down, and that was the only way they could close them down, is if they're empty. So a lot of places were trying to foster out all the animals. So yeah, a lot of people are fostering too.
They do ask very specific questions, though, Eric, exactly about what you're talking about. They say, what type of schedule do you have? Have you ever had a dog before? They look at the personality of the dog. Golden retrievers, for instance, are very active, very intelligent. They've got to be involved all the time, and they try and make sure that your life fits their life, which I think is really good. I've thought about this because, you know, about every other day I'd want to go and adopt a golden retriever, and I've already come up with the answers. You know, I mean. Does he fit where you live? Golden retrievers are party dogs. I got tequila. I have everything he needs. I mean, sure, we would have a great time together. You know, if you're going to have a party, you have a golden planet. You have, I don't know, probably an Italian dog, Cook, but you have a golden planet. But so, yeah, I think the shelters are very cautious about who they place them with for that very reason. a lot of times people who've never owned a dog have no idea, or a cat or whatever, have no idea what they're getting into. So I think they're pretty careful about that.
One of the people who represents a shelter says, it's good for them because it has caused them, since face to face is very limited. She said, it's caused them to reevaluate themselves and say, what are the things that we as an industry have traditionally been really rigid about that we don't need to be rigid about? There's a chance here to make adoptions easier and more flexible for people and more efficient for ourselves. So I think, and that's happening to a lot of businesses. They're seeing, we really can have our people, work from home part-time, or, different things that they've been really rigid about in the past, and they've discovered, well, maybe we could flex on some things.
Well, and that's a good point, because society is shifting more towards work at home. That's become, 20 years ago, that was almost unheard of. And now it's very, very common. So
well, there are a lot of companies that are very, very inflexible about that. I work for Edward Jones. That's a very good example. They're very inflexible about that.
Yeah, they probably don't want to.
Things, it's been kind of crazy because the people we have working from home haven't worked from home in the past, and even getting equipment to them, that's a lot of stock too, like the monitors and printers and cartridges and things like that. They're hard to get. I mean, we've been able to do it, but it's taken longer because there's been such a run on all of this work from home stuff, and you're really finding out what you can and can't do from home, and what those challenges are, and it's a whole new set of challenges.
Well, I've worked out of my house since 1992, I think it's been. I can't imagine working in some place. The problem, though, with working out of your house is you're always at work, and that has a tendency to, suck you in day and night. Speaking of adopting a pet, Joe Biden is looking like he's going to be adopted by the court system here shortly. Isn't it somewhat of a surprise that after all this time, after how many hours of video are out there of Joe Biden, composites of stuff put together showing him doing this stuff, that none of this, they must be paying people off. It's the only thing I can think of. And this particular person is not interested in being paid off.
I think that a lot of his transgressions in the past maybe haven't risen to the level where anybody was willing to put, making a sexual assault claim or assault claim of any kind really is, it exposes the victim in a way that a lot of victims don't want to be exposed. They don't want to put themselves out there in the justice system. Now, unfortunately, this is not going to result in any kind of a trial or anything, because the statute of limitations is long past on this. This happened in 1993. So this woman says, her name is Tara Reid. She filed a criminal complaint in Washington, D.C., and she accused, this is a little off color, so send the kids out of the room. She accuses Biden of pushing her up against a wall in a corridor in the Capitol building and penetrating her with his fingers. And she said, I'm not going to get traditional justice. I'm looking for something more existential, to not have to keep a secret because it's somebody powerful. So yeah, apparently if she is paid off, she's paid off by our side. But she's basically just saying, I just want this out in the open. I want to just get this off my chest.
And that's certainly fine. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, these sexual allegations obviously follow, presidential candidates. I mean, Trump had them. Almost everybody's had them. And so you have to pick and choose what you can believe and what you can't believe. I mean, the difference for Biden is that we've seen the videos of the weird stuff that he does. So this absolutely does not surprise me in any way, shape, or form.
And some of the things are in his own words, like what he said about the kids in the swimming pool.
I was just going to say that.
Playing with his leg hair. He's admitted to some weird stuff. So it's not even so much like, okay, yeah, we have video of some stuff and we have him admitting to some stuff.
Yeah, there's certainly no end to it. It's astounding. And you would think that a guy who's running for president of the United States would have somebody in his camp would go, Joe, the story about the kids in the pool, probably ought to back off on that one. You know what I'm saying? But the videos, petting young girls and on camera, standing next to their father. I mean, no father's punched this guy out yet. It's amazing.
It is real. It is really truly mystifying that like no one's husband or father has like, intervened in any way. But the problem is it's always like during a ceremony, it's on video, they don't want to mess up the ceremony because their wife's being like molested.
Although sometimes you can see an interested party looking at him very weirdly, I mean, it's absolutely amazing. I don't know how he gets away with it. I really don't. Maybe this will tone it down. I doubt it. What's more amazing is where are all the feminists? If a Republican were doing this, he would be out. It wouldn't matter what he was running for. He couldn't run for dog catcher.
I also want to know where is his wife? Where is Jill Biden in all of this? I mean, Dr. Jill, I mean, come on. Like, she's an educated woman. She shouldn't be standing for this either. She should be telling him, when she sees these videos, Joe, you have to stop doing this. This is not okay.
Well, we got to take another break. When we come back, we're going to answer the question, what woman has more facial hair than my Italian aunt? And that will be what we will talk about when we return with more on Target Radio. And you're listening, AM 560, The Answer.
That was a segue if ever I've heard one.
Answering the world's unanswered questions.
What can I say?
That's another T-shirt, right?
Oh, yeah.
You never knew my Italian aunts. They all had more facial hair than I did. It was unbelievable. You want to bring this one back, Gretchen?
Sure.
Because I know this is something that particularly bugs you.
Well, it's really an update. So that's how I'll bring it back. It's a story that actually I think Eric started, one of the shows that David was absent from. I think Eric started talking about the transgender males in competing in girls sports.
Oh, I thought you were saying
11 stuff. Yeah.
So this is an update to a story that we've covered a couple of times.
I thought you were going to say Eric was becoming transgendered and going into athletics.
Thanks for bringing that up, Dave. That's just that's awesome.
Okay, so you got 6 minutes and 30 seconds of update. You good?
Well, yeah. So we're obviously this isn't going to take the whole segment. So I do have a few quotes I can read, but
Okay.
well, after that we'll have to fill time with something after that.
Like at Second City, they used to say, if you don't know what to do next, trip and something will occur on the way down. Okay, I think we're ready. You're going to bring it back, G.
Okay.
Ready.
And we're back with more on Target Radio. So we would like to update a story that we've covered in the past, which is the transgender males who think they're females trying to compete in women's sports and girls' sports at the high school and college level. Idaho, at the the middle of March, became the first state to officially ban transgender athletes from competing on women's sports teams. Governor Brad Little signed a law keeping that reserved for females, women, and girls. And then the same day, he also signed another law that prohibits transgender people from changing their birth certificates, which is something that we do have here in Illinois. This Route 50 article also says similar bills have been introduced in at least 16 other states already this year. So that's good news for girls' sports and women's sports at the high school and college levels. And hopefully the law is being backed by the Alliance Defending Freedom. So they expect it to be challenged for constitutionality. And, the Idaho Attorney General said that, told the governor before he signed it, said that they have concerns about the defensibility of the policy and calling it constitutionally problematic. So hopefully the Alliance Defending Freedom will be successful at defending that.
Are you saying that people are able to go back and change their gender on their birth certificate?
In Illinois, yes. Yes,
Yeah.
that was signed a couple of years ago.
I know it's crazy. And, I think that, obviously boys sports should be reserved for biological boys and girls should be biological girls. And then if you want to compete against each other, then there's the whole co-ed, opportunity there. And that's probably the best forum for that. You can identify and be whoever you want or whatever. And then at least you're on a level playing field.
It's hard to even picture that it's gotten as far as it's gotten. It really is. I mean, you would think this would have burned out.
Yeah. I got out of hand with Obama, really, is kind of where I saw it get out of hand. I don't know if anybody saw it got out of hand earlier than that, but that's kind of where I noticed it.
Well,
No,
yeah.
that's when it was, and it's gotten, really and truly, when it comes right down to it, transgender people who feel, have transgender feelings, it's a mental illness. And there are people who have gone to the other side of it and have gotten a lot of counseling and who have said, I was so unhappy the entire time I was living that way. And that really, that's the only I don't want to say cure, but that's the only way to fix this, is to have a lot of mental illness evaluation and counseling. And that it has become more and more and more because there's been so much freedom of expression, during the Obama administration, but during the last 10 years for sure. It's just been, just be whoever you are, and whatever you think is fine. And it's just become this free for all of, we refuse to diagnose mental illness. We would much rather just let you, fly your freak flag, as they say.
Well, and the sad part is that, I don't care what adults want to do to themselves. If they want to identify or change their gender, whatever, that's cool, whatever. Just, don't try to get involved in opposite gender activities and things like that. But then don't push it on your kids. There's kids out there 10 years old, these parents that are convincing these kids that they're, transgender or whatever, and then they're taking drugs or having surgeries. And then a lot of these kids are going on to say, later in life that, they wish they'd never done this, or they're now suicidal, or they have more mental health issues because of it. And it's just completely wrong. It should be child abuse to be able
I feel like, as if there weren't enough ways to ruin your kid's childhood. There were already plenty of ways to do that. You could be too strict, you could be too permissive, you could spoil your kids, or you could, not give them proper, food and clothing. You could beat them. There were already plenty of ways to ruin, a childhood, and now we've dreamed up some more. It's insanity.
It does beg the question, because if you look at certain entities like the military and law enforcement, they have two sets of standards for applicants, okay? And male standards are more rigorous, and that's just a fact of life. It's the way it is. So does that mean then that someone can go into the military or apply in law enforcement and say, well, I actually feel like a female, I'm under those standards, get the watered down version, and then turn around and go, well, I'm a male again. I can, now I can do whatever I want. The whole thing is nuts. It really is. And as you say, it's not biology. All you got to do is pick them up and look. Whoops, that's a boy. You know what I'm saying? It's really that simple. That's the big test. And otherwise, it is. It's a psychological problem. And I'm not saying people are crazy. There are people who honestly feel that way for whatever reason. I feel sorry for them, but becoming, it just doesn't work the other way around. You have to learn to accept who you are. Anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about reopening our country, which I think is an interesting possibility that may happen sometime this year. And we'll be back with more on Target Radio, and you're listening to AM 560, The Answer.
Can you guys give me 2 minutes? I'll be right back.
You got it.
Thank you.
So reopening the country, I got something to say about that. All right.
Yeah, so actually, when we're done with this article, there's actually not, I read this article last night after I sent it to you. There's really not much here. But so right before I went to bed, I saw that a Facebook friend of mine, he is or he has been a Safer USA customer, but he's also an Edward Jones customer of mine. He invited me to a group called Reopen America. And I was like, oh, that sounds good. So I go in it, and it's a private group. But it's not just like the business thing of like Reopen America. It's people like me who are like, this is bullshit. This is like infringing on my rights. I mean, it's like a support group for people like me who are like COVID-19, like, bullshit. This is like over the top bullshit. So
I got
I'm
the
like,
same thing. Where did that come from?
I invited you after I joined. I invited you. And so yeah, I was just like, yes, I'm so happy.
Who was it that sent that?
His name is Don Rickard. You don't know him. I mean, he took concealed carry from you, but that was 5-6 years ago.
A lot of people took it.
Yeah.
I'll bring this one back too, but I got stuff I'm going to say.
That's fine.
Then I'll bring back the Zen thing.
That's the last segment.
Yeah.
Not this
As soon
next.
as Eric returns, we will. Is there something flashing? Oh, it's him. Oh, he's walking in front of a green screen. That's why.
Yeah.
Give me one more minute. I just got to put this package outside. Someone's coming by. That way I don't have to leave in the middle here.
He's doing that drug dealer thing again.
Yeah. It so feels like it. It's so weird.
Eric, have you heard what Eric is doing? Do you know?
Yeah.
You heard about what he's doing?
Yeah, I've been listening to the show the last few weeks, so yes.
Yeah, probably, right?
Yeah,
Oh yeah. You're that guy.
I'm here.
Oh boy.
I may be editing the show while you're doing it, but I have you here and you here.
Touche.
I think it's awesome.
It really, I mean, we're talking thousands of these things now.
Well, my sister's a respiratory therapist at some suburban hospitals, so it's all good with me.
Yeah. Yeah, he and Tom McCullough, I don't know if you know Tom.
Yeah, it's the other guy from 2 weeks ago who's running for state senate.
He was
Exactly.
on.
Yeah, he was on the.
He was
yeah,
on
right.
our first Zoom show. Hello, David.
Yeah, you know.
No memory.
Drugs are on the porch. We're good.
Was there any
What do you-
unmarked cars
what do you-
sitting out front?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah, nothing.
We should start off a show that way sometime. Everybody with a soda straw. No, actually with a $20 bill. That's how they do it.
Well, yeah, you got to have the $20 bill, otherwise it doesn't work.
I thought it was
Exactly.
$100 bill.
Depends on what you do for a living.
Yeah, it's like it depends. Yeah.
If you're selling it, it's 100. If you're taking it,
I'm
it's a
thinking
20.
it's that rock star life.
Yes.
Okay.
Rockstar. Where's my? Oh, there we go. Oh, almost. There it is. Rockstar.
All right, anytime you're ready.
Cool. Rock and roll.
You were going to bring this back?
No, you are.
That was the last segment, Dave.
No, I know, but I thought she was going to. Okay.
No, you
Um,
said you were going to.
No, I said I would have a lot to say about it. That's fine. I can do it.
You don't, or you do?
I do. I will have something to say about it. Yeah.
Well, then you bring it back.
I'm going to bring it back. You see what George puts up with? Now you know. Don't
Oh, I've heard the stories. Now this is just evidence.
you?
It's recorded, so now you really got it.
Okay, I'm ready. Set to go? All right, so we're back with more on Target Radio, and the topic of, at some point, this is going to end. We would hope anyway, at some point. There's muttering about going through May, but I don't know. The president seems to be pretty set on let's get this mess cleaned up. Stock market is really tanked, and you know how good it was going. And people are saying that it's going to take in fact, one article said of Trump, it will take an act of courage to get the economy started again. Here's what I'm thinking. Everybody's been locked up for what, 2 months about when this is going to end theoretically?
About 6 weeks, yeah.
I think they're going to go out screaming with $20 bills flying behind them. I mean, seriously, they're going to hit every store. That, you know what I'm saying?
I know I am.
You will
I
put
honestly
a
think there's going to be a calculated return to normal. I mean, a lot of people are, you're going to have your people that are, they're cooped up and they want to get out and want to go do whatever and have the $20 bills waving around and everything. And you're going to have the other group of people that are still afraid. Now, the question is going to be like with all these festivals that normally happen, that's big for a lot of local economies. And, you know, like Rib Fest, like, you know, the Will County Fair, things like that. What's going to happen with those? Are those still going to go on? Is there going to be a social distancing aspect to it? I mean, how do you really do that? Live concerts are another thing. It's a big question, and we don't really know the answer to it. I mean, I've heard predictions for August. I hope it ends sooner than that, and I hope we can get back to normal. But I don't know what normal is going to look like after this.
Well, I'm going to tell you what really bothers me. And, you know, we've heard all kinds of things about this pandemic. People have gone, oh, it's made up. It's this, it's that. It's the worst thing that hit since the bubonic plague. I mean, people have been all over the map with it. I don't disbelieve that it's true. I have people close to me who died from this thing. But here's what really disturbs me. The government is poking around the edges to see what they can get away with in the situation. They literally are doing things like, well, you can't leave your house. And then they're waiting to see what happens. You can't buy guns. They're waiting to see what happens. They're testing. It's Rahm Emanuel when he worked for Obama saying, never let a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah.
I don't think this wasn't manufactured. Well, and actually that may be not true either, but it's not so much the pandemic that bothers me. It's what the government is doing as a result of it that bothers me.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. I think that, well, I've been saying this for 3 weeks, that I think that from a constitutional standpoint, First Amendment, Second Amendment, you know, Fifth Amendment, I think the government has way overstepped its boundaries, both on the state and federal level. Throughout this, I think that it's been blown way out of proportion. I think Obama's, you know, swine flu possibly was handled better than this. You know, I think that causing mass hysteria is counterproductive.
Well, you know, if you think about it, a quarantine is preventing sick people from moving. Tyranny is preventing healthy people from moving. So,
Right.
I mean, we're kind of in the second and the latter category there. Not disagreeing or agreeing that it's good or bad, but, you know, if you think about it, you know, we're preventing a lot of healthy people from going about their daily routines and doing what they do. Now, yes, it's in the name of, you know, public health and safety, but where does it stop? When does it stop? And what does it look like?
Well, I think that's a good point, because there's no precedent on where the line is drawn. You hear people say, well, you shouldn't be able to restrict my right to travel and commerce and so on. But the other side of that coin, in all fairness, if you're a governor, the other side of that coin is moving people in mass transmits disease. So where is that line? And we haven't actually had to face that. And this, I think, the best of my knowledge, this is the first time we've actually had to face it. And I think a lot of people are honestly trying to do the right thing. Look, Pritzker would say buying firearms and ammo is essential. That's a step for him. I mean, it really is. You have to admit it. No matter what the motivation was, that was a big step for him. I think he's trying to do the right thing. The question is, what exactly is the right thing?
Yeah, and there's no question about it. One of the questions that I've had for weeks now, you know, especially seeing Lori Lightfoot on television every day, which I don't think anybody wants to see that, but
You like her hair?
oh yeah, it looks so much better after she got a haircut. Everybody needs a haircut, you freaking hypocrite. But no, I think what is so hypocritical, especially from someone like her, is she's not going to shut down public transportation. Okay, I can't imagine anything that transmits more disease than public transportation, and you know, having people packed into buses and train cars and things of that nature. But that disproportionately disadvantages poor people. and is going to prevent them from going to their jobs or wherever they need to go. And so, of course, she's completely unwilling to do that. That is just not even, it's not even on the table.
And I think that's a good point. It brings us back to, how is it different than no more than 10 people can assemble in church, but you can put 100 people on the L? I mean, it just doesn't
Or
make sense.
1,000. I mean, 100 would be surprisingly low. I mean, it would be hundreds or 1,000 easily.
Sure. So these are all things I'm sure people are pondering, and they're looking at what's happened. And maybe real guidelines will actually come out on how to deal with stuff like this. You know, it's a fact. If everybody stays home and nobody is on the streets, and there was a period of about a week when it was a ghost town, that does slow it down. But it is what it is, and we'll see what the lessons learned end up being. We got to take a break, and we're going to come back with my AOC moment of Zen. We'll be back with more on Target Radio, and you're listening AM 560, The Answer.
I was going to say, finally, a new moment of Zen. It's been weeks, months.
Yes, but she's kind of been in hiding. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes you got to dig for it, Lombardo. Sometimes you got to work for it.
Oh, I'm ready when everybody else is.
Who's bringing it back before we come back?
It'll be me, because it's going to be, we don't have a bumper for Zen, so I'll have to do it.
Go for it as soon as Eric's
Ready to go? Okay. And we're back with more on Target Radio, and this is the AOC moment of Zen. Take out the trash. It was just the other day I mentioned to Gretchen that it appears Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had fallen off the radar. Twitter, Facebook, and social media in general appeared to be devoid of her pithy pearls of persecution complex. I was thinking someone took out the trash and she was in the pile. I swear to you that I was not wishing she were still spewing her particular radical socialist agenda. I was just noting that the air was a bit cleaner and fresher the past few months. Turns out she wasn't in a re-education camp as I'd hoped, but rather was most likely standing at some fence looking into an empty parking lot, practicing her most empathic look, hoping a news camera would show up. Anyway, she's back, and she's as loony and divisive as ever. This time, AOC is all over President Trump, claiming he personally is responsible for the poor and persons of color succumbing to the virus. Citing environmental racism and income inequality, AOC claims Trump is causing a comorbidity situation where racism and income equality meet coronavirus. Isn't she clever? She can take a pandemic that's killing tens of thousands of people across the world, representing all races, religions, nationalities, and income levels, discount everyone else, and make it about poor Black and brown people in the United States, i.e., her voting constituency. Of course, blaming Trump for all this is meant to accomplish two things. Discredit the president because, well, just because, and wait for it, to demand reparations. Wait a second, I'm a little bit lost on this one. Are these reparations part of the reparations we need to pay for slavery, or is this an independent extortion? Apparently, while AOC was staring into the empty parking lot pretending there was something there she objected to, she missed the part where the government is going to send stimulus checks to a huge number of U.S. citizens, and that would certainly include AOC's socially deviant miscreant cadre. Ironically, if the Dems in the House had their way, the stimulus bill they proposed was full of pork, furthering the uber-liberal agenda. There was precious little money for AOC's homebound unemployed stiffs. Perhaps the most ingenious aspect of all this is her ability to rationalize the pandemic is specifically hitting poor inner-city brown and Black people, thereby discounting the suffering the rest of the world has been going through. This pandemic is having a huge effect on pretty much all facets of our daily lives. Healthcare issues, savings and investing losses, and the loss of jobs alone is staggering. I'm a foodie, and yesterday I read the National Restaurant Association is predicting that 30% of all U.S. restaurants will not survive the pandemic. The problem is most are running out of operating capital to keep the furnace, electricity, and water running until the cash flow starts again. As always, AOC is doing her level best to discredit the president and stir up as much unrest as possible at a time when unity is crucial for success. This is all in the name of transforming this country into a socialist country similar to Russia. I have two words to sum up the AOC issue. John Cummings. Cummings is a Republican Catholic school teacher running against AOC in New York's 14th congressional district and describes himself as a small government guy. He's come out strong promoting choice on issues including education, a free market economy, and infrastructure improvements. Send money direct to his campaign fund, and let's help him take out the trash. There you go.
Like it.
That was after a month or so.
Took up almost the whole segment, so it was worth
Yeah.
it. Wait there.
There was some pent up demand there.
All right, well,
Yeah, so their primary isn't until like June, I think. We looked it up the other day, and there's like 13 people in that primary between the I think there's like 6 Democrats and 8 Republicans or something like that. So the people are like lining up to beat her in the primary. It's just so funny.
we're gonna take off. That's the end of the show for this week. We hope to see you next week with more On Target Radio. Thanks for listening.
And done.
Is that the end of the show?
That's
That
it.
is the end of the show.
I guess we threw that because usually we do that a segment before and then we Gretchen's action. item.
Right. And I didn't have any action items, so I told him to save it for the end.
Don't you guys see? Don't you see a countdown timer?
Yeah, but that's for the segment, Dave. Been doing that every segment. It goes down to 0.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, we were out.
He was
I didn't know that was the last segment.
he was questioning that we did